A day after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to destroy North Korea, Pyongyang has now threatened the United States with a horrible preemptive nuclear strike. According to reports, North Korea said it is ready to destroy the bases of the enemies with a preemptive strike if they show any signs of provocation. The Korean state news agency KCNA said, and I'm quoting here, "In case the United States opts for confrontation and war, it will meet a horrible nuclear strike and miserable and final ruin," unquote. The war of words between the two rivals came after President Donald Trump said the United States has no choice but to destroy North Korea to rein in its nuclear and missile program. Donald Trump made the remarks against North Korea during his debut address at the annual United Nations General Assembly session on Tuesday. Let's go straight across to our senior correspondent, Ramesh Ramachandran, joining us for more on this. Ramesh, not surprising that Pyongyang has reacted, but what's even more along expected lines, perhaps, is that it has matched the U.S. President's speech rhetoric to rhetoric in the statement that the North Korean news agency has put out.
Indeed, Molly, we've seen this rhetoric coming out of both Washington and Pyongyang in recent months. Remember, President Trump had spoken about key phrases such as fire and fury, locked and loaded, and so on. And in response, North Korea had spoken about how it wants to sink Japan and cause darkness and reduce the U.S. to ashes. So clearly that has continued into the UN General Assembly. Yesterday, as you said, Molly, we heard President Trump speak about and train his guns on North Korea in particular. North Korea came for specific mention in his debut speech at the UN General Assembly when he spoke about how he wants to totally destroy North Korea if it does not relent on its nuclear and ballistic missile program, and also going on to say, describe Kim Jong-un as a rocket man, saying the rocket man is on a suicide mission for himself. So clearly, the North Korean statement should be seen as a response to Trump's speech yesterday, and it remains to be seen where the two sides go from here.
Absolutely. Ramesh, this of course is a statement and an address that was made by the US President Donald Trump at the United Nations. But let's take a step back and look at the concrete action that's come out from the world body. We've seen watered down sanctions against North Korea, the latest ones after North Korea's sixth and biggest nuclear test. Where does this rhetoric really factor in, considering that the sanctions are watered down?
Well, essentially, Molly, the idea is to get more countries on board the UN Security Resolution, namely Russia and China in particular. Both are veto-wielding members of the UNSC, and they are of the opinion that sanctions are futile and that dialogue is the only way forward, which the US, for its part, does not agree with. And that is why we see the US drafted resolution being watered down. Originally, they planned to have a complete freeze on oil exports to North Korea. That was watered down, as you mentioned, by capping the oil of imports by North Korea. U.S. also wanted targeted sanctions, especially against Kim Jong-un and his immediate coterie. That too was watered down for the moment. So clearly, tensions are building up vis-a-vis the North Korean issue between the U.S. on the one hand and North Korea on the other, especially China and Russia who are watching from the sidelines.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment, Ramesh. Appreciate all of those details and perspectives coming in. My colleague Ramesh there elaborating for us the kind of statement that's now been issued by North Korea. Now, even as Donald Trump threatens to destroy North Korea, his allies, France and Germany, say only dialogue and effective sanctions can solve the North Korean problem, as we just discussed. Let's take a listen in.
Cela suppose que nous renforcions les mesures de sanctions, et tout particulièrement les mesures de sanctions efficaces, ce qui suppose une politique proactive de la Russie et de la Chine. C'est ce à quoi j'ai appelé tout à l'heure. Si nous voulons avoir des sanctions efficaces sur le plan économique qui puissent contraindre la Corée du Nord à changer ses positions, nous avons besoin justement de renforcer ces sanctions dont ces deux pays sont des acteurs clés. Pour ma part, je l'ai dit, je suis défavorable à toute intervention militaire, parce que je regarde la carte des deux Corées et que je regarde la situation géographique dans laquelle nous sommes et que toute intervention militaire conduirait à des dommages et des pertes de vie humaines qui me paraissent devoir absolument être évité.
Ich weiß, dass sich viele in diesen Tagen ja auch Sorgen machen das, was der nordkoreanische Diktator da veranstaltet, die Nukleartests. Und ich möchte Ihnen ganz deutlich und in aller Ernsthaftigkeit sagen, das wird jetzt ja auch bei der UN-Generalversammlung wieder diskutiert. Für mich, für die ganze Bundesregierung gibt es hier nur eine diplomatische, friedliche Lösung dieses Konflikts. Alles andere führt ins Unglück. Davon bin ich zutiefst überzeugt. Und dafür werde ich arbeiten mit allem, was ich an Kraft habe. Das verspreche ich Ihnen.
While attacking North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during the UN General Assembly address on Tuesday, Donald Trump said that he was a rocket man who is on a suicide mission. Let's take a listen in.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. The United States is ready, willing and able, but hopefully this will not be necessary. That's what the United Nations is all about.
Strongly condemning Pyongyang over its repeated nuclear and ballistic missile tests, U.S. President Donald Trump added that the United States will be forced to totally destroy North Korea unless Pyongyang backs down from its nuclear challenge.
Now North Korea's reckless pursuit of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles threatens the entire world with unthinkable loss of human life. It is an outrage that some nations would not only trade with such a regime, but would arm, supply, and financially support a country that imperils the world with nuclear conflict. No nation on earth has an interest in seeing this band of criminals arm itself with nuclear weapons and missiles. The United States has great strength and patience. But if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
Donald Trump added that it is high time for North Korea to realize that denuclearization is its only acceptable future. He asserted that North Korea's reckless pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the entire world with immense loss of life. And as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens to revisit the Iran nuclear deal, Tehran has now hit back, saying that the United States will lose its face if it withdraws from the nuclear agreement. During that speech at the UN General Assembly, Donald Trump described the deal as one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into.
The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. It has turned a wealthy country with a rich history and culture into an economically depleted rogue state whose chief exports are violence, bloodshed, and chaos. The longest suffering victims of Iran's leaders are, in fact, its own people.
Echoing United States' stand on Tehran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu termed the Iran nuclear deal as dangerous. Listen in.
And I warned that when that sunset comes, a dark shadow will be cast over the entire Middle East and the world. Because Iran will then be free to enrich uranium on an industrial scale, placing it on the threshold of a massive arsenal of nuclear weapons. That's why I said 2 years ago that the greater danger is not that Iran will rush to a single bomb by breaking the deal, but that Iran will be able to build many bombs by keeping the deal.
Meanwhile, Iran has denounced U.S. President Donald Trump's threat as shameless and ignorant. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has said that the United States will pay a high cost if President Donald Trump scraps the U.S.-Iran nuclear deal. President Rouhani said, and I'm quoting here, exiting such an agreement would carry a high cost for the United States of America, and I do not believe Americans would be willing to pay such a high cost for something that will be useless for them, unquote. President Rouhani also said such a move by President Trump will yield no results for the United States, but it will only decrease the international trust placed in them. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has also slammed the United States. He said, and I quote here, Trump's shameless and ignorant remarks in which he ignored Iran's fight against terrorism displays his lack of knowledge and unawareness, unquote. Even U.S. President's ally, France, has disapproved of Donald Trump's threat to revisit Iran nuclear deal. French President said it would be irresponsible if United States fails to honor the Iran deal.
Le dénoncer aujourd'hui, sans rien proposer d'autre, serait une lourde erreur. Ne pas le respecter serait irresponsable, parce que c'est un accord utile, essentiel à la paix, à l'heure où le risque d'une spirale infernale ne saurait être exclu. C'est ce que j'ai dit hier aux États-Unis et à l'Iran. Je souhaite pour ma part que nous complétions cet accord par un travail qui permettra d'encadrer l'activité balistique de l'Iran, par un travail qui permettra d'encadrer la situation après 2025 que ne couvre pas l'accord de 2015. Soyons plus exigeants.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said it is high time to expose and hold responsible those countries that provide funding and safe havens to terror outfits. During his debut speech at the annual UN General Assembly session, President Trump said that all responsible nations must work together to confront terrorists.
We will stop radical Islamic terrorism because we cannot allow it to tear up our nation and indeed to tear up the entire world. We must deny the terrorists safe haven, transit, funding, and any form of support for their vile and sinister ideology. We must drive them out of our nations.
President Trump said that member nations must deny the terrorists safe havens, transit, and any form of their support for the terrorist ideologies. He added that the United States and its allies will work together in eliminating the terrorists.